Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bill. We're in the Keeper's Guide for Call of Cthulhu. We are continuing the Magic series. This would be part 2. In this one we are looking at using magic and learning a spell. All the rules for that. We'll be reading it from the book. After that, the next video will be on casting magic. And I think I got 2 more videos planned for this to round out this chapter. So without further ado, let's dive into using magic and learning a spell. Increasing the Cthulhu mythos skill widens the horizons of the student, but chips away at mental reserves, reducing maximum sanity points. However, learning about the mythos may also let the scholar change reality in specific ways. These packets of information are organized as spells. They require activation, measured in the game by magic points. Magic points, also abbreviated on the character sheets as MP. Magic points must, in most cases, be expended to cast spells, as well as to energize artifacts, power magical gates, and so on. An investigator begins the game with magic points equal to 1/5 of his or her POW. However, cultists and powerful sorcerers often have larger pools of points from which to draw. Once an individual is out of magic points, any further expenditure is deducted directly from hit points. Any such loss of hit points will manifest as physical damage in a form chosen by the keeper, perhaps sores and cuts opening on the body, skin blistering, or blood running from the eyes or ears. Spending or sacrificing magic points or points of POW take only the will of the owner. Doing so may leave sensations of pleasure mingled with regret, a numbness to the soul, or may not be noticeable at all. The spell's caster essence or energy is channeled into powering the spell. Some magical attacks leech magic points or POW from unwilling targets. In those cases, loss may be characterized as being painful or as leaving a headache, or other minor symptoms. Involuntary loss of 10 POW would be a stronger sensation than that of losing the same amount of magic points. If magic points reach 0, the investigator deducts further magic point loss from hit points, 1 for 1. Regeneration of magic points is a natural function returning at 1 magic point per hour, 2 magic points per hour for those with POW over 100, 3 magic points per hour if POW is over 200, and so on. The number of magic points cannot regenerate to a value above 1/5 of the character's POW. Magic points lost as hit points are healed according to the rules for wounds and healing. Healing if hit points and regeneration of magic points can occur concurrently. That's a big word that means at the same time. Where a character to obtain magic points of a quantity greater than 1/5 of his or her POW, these could be spent, but the excess could not be regenerated. Now let's look at learning a spell. A selection of spells for the game is presented alphabetically in Chapter 12, Grimoire. Learning a mythos spell does not cost sanity points, however, casting a mythos spell does. Any individual can learn a spell. Studying the mythos is the last thing a person should do, since increasing mythos knowledge always brings the character closer and closer to the time when insanity or the mythos stakes its claim. Sometimes circumstances demand such sacrifice. Knowledge of a spell can be transferred in 3 ways, listed below. Learning from a book is by far the most common method. And that's the first section here, learning a spell from a mythos book. Following an investigator conducting an initial reading of a book, the keeper will indicate the presence and summarize each of the spells in a sentence or 2. Assuming the book contains spells, the keeper should not use the rulebook name of a spell, but might instead offer a description like brought forth a great winged beast from ye void, which did soar crowd my place of business. In place of the too accurate and too bland summon Bayaki. Likewise, a spell called the Unremitting Terror sounds a lot more credible than Implant Fear. Suggestions for alternative names for spells are listed in Chapter 12 of the Grimoire. To learn a spell from a Mythos book requires that the investigator has at least made an initial reading of the book. The investigator chooses the spell to study. Learning a spell can take hours, days, weeks, or months. Typically 2d6 weeks, but at the keeper's discretion. Just as with reading a Mythos book, learning a Mythos spell may be put aside and taken up again, as convenient. Usually a roll is called for at this stage, however. The keeper may choose to grant automatic success depending on the scenario. If success is not automatic, the player should attempt a hard intelligence roll to learn the spell. If the player fails the roll, the investigator has not learned the spell. The player may ask to push the roll, but must justify doing so. For example, the investigator might lock themselves away in isolation until the spell is mastered. When thinking of consequences for failing a pushed roll, keeper should be creative and include sanity point loss and strange magical effects, both upon the investigator and their surroundings. If investigator is in no hurry, they may continue to work on learning the spell without pushing the roll. The time for the next intelligence roll is at the keeper's discretion, perhaps once per 2 weeks. Learning a spell from another person. Having learned a spell, a character may teach it to others. One-on-one teaching is quicker than one person learning from a book, and typically a spell can be learned in 1 week or less, 1d8 days. Use the same rules for learning a spell from a book, bearing in mind that the process will be faster. And then the last way you can learn a spell is learning a spell from a Mythos entity. At will, an intelligent Mythos entity might supply a book or a scroll detailing a spell. More characteristically, the entity imparts such knowledge by means of dreams or visions. Each episode is disturbing and alienating, gnawing away at the character's sanity and will. This may happen quickly or slowly, as the story requires. A Mythos entity may imbue a complete spell in a character's mind by telepathy, though such a powerful experience also might send the character directly to the asylum. The keeper should consider the level of sanity loss. Minimum of 1d6 is suggested. Once the process is complete, the keeper may require the target to make a successful intelligence roll to retain knowledge of the spell. If this fails, the process must be started anew. Investigators rarely receive information in this manner, however. Cultists often do. And that's everything on learning a spell and a little bit about the magic points. So that concludes this video. I'll be doing the next video shortly, and you'll have part 3, casting a spell. Well, until we all game again, guys.